It's time to get your geek on.
So a photo came out, behind-the-scenes photo with Patrick Stewart and the writing team from Star Trek about the new Picard series coming out. Mm-hmm. We don't have a date yet. It's going to be coming out after season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. We know that. And you just now saw the pic for the first time, Alex. Is that right?
Yes, at least I should be.
So what do you think about having a series just about the adventures of Jean-Luc Picard? 25 years after the last, well, let's see, it's been 16 years since we saw him in Nemesis.
Well, I mean, like, and I've talked about this before. I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan.
No, you're not, but that's okay.
What I find really interesting and really exciting about this is that opportunity to, one, continue the story, but two, continue it in a fashion where we're still getting those iconic actors that are so associated with those characters, like we were talking about earlier, like with Optimus Prime as well. And I think this is another one of those examples where the fan base is going to eat it up, and especially since, you know, there are those who don't like the Abrams style of the Star Trek films. Star Trek.
So we had Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond.
No, but I was going to say the current show. It's escaping.
Star Trek Discovery.
Star Trek Discovery. Then we have people that are really into that show, and we do also have people who are maybe not as into that show. And hopefully this is going to be something that'll bridge the gap of folks who are not so into the Abrams films, but also who maybe aren't super into this new Discovery, interpretation. But they're going to be really hopefully excited for this this new continuation of these stories. Now,
of course, again, this is going to be on CBS All Access. You think with having Picard, it could bring more fans to that platform? I
think anytime any IP is going to bring back any actor, any writer, any director that is widely associated with that IP, fans are going to flock to it. Like, I know we're not talking about it, but like, for example, the new Halloween film's coming out this year. You know, John Carpenter's back on it. It's the first Halloween film he's been back on. Everyone's super excited about it. It really promotes confidence in it. And I think the same thing is going to happen with this new Star Trek series.
So you know how many Halloween films I've seen total?
I'm going to be really disappointed if it's none, and if it's not none, I'm going to hope it's just 2.
So you're going to be disappointed.
Oh, man.
I have yet to see a Halloween film.
What?
And that's really sad, considering in the original Halloween, it was a William Shatner mask.
Yeah, and that makes... Oh, hey, so it's topical. Yes. I did it on purpose.
Yes.
Totally forgot about that.
Yes.
But, no, that's really surprising to me. You should, this Halloween, especially because the new one's coming out, watch the first one and then go watch the new one. Because realistically, timeline-wise, you only need to see the first one. But the other ones... If you're ever going to get into them, watch the first and second one. Don't worry about any of the other ones.
So you know how we'd mentioned that the Mike Myers mask was actually a William Shatner mask?
Yes.
He's going to be at Alamo City Comic Con, and so is Jonathan Frakes, Commander Riker on Star Trek Next Generation, speaking of Patrick Stewart. Now, we had, also in the news, something came out about an actor offering, he hadn't been offered the part, nobody's really talked about it, but he's offering to be a young Jean-Luc Picard in the Picard series. And that is none other than our friend James McAvoy, Professor X, in the X-Men movies. Now, of course, we had our friend Tom Hardy, currently playing Venom, played a young Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek Nemesis. That was just a piece of garbage. That movie was horrible. So, who do you think could do it better? McAvoy, or could Tom Hardy beat up James McAvoy as a young Patrick Stewart?
Well, I think James McAvoy would be an amazing choice to go with, mainly if nothing else, because think about what other characters Patrick Stewart is most identified with. Goose, what are the 2 characters that Patrick Stewart is the most identified with?
Captain Picard and Professor X.
Exactly. What is
all day long?
What's the other character that currently in this climate James McAvoy is very known for, and he's about to be known for again next year?
Professor X.
Professor X. So I think it would just bring that additional level of a fan excitement towards it, because then it shows like, oh, the studio cares, or hey, if James McAvoy is able to portray a younger version of this stoic, aged Professor X, then maybe he can do a younger version of Picard's character as well. Because realistically, Patrick Stewart's a great actor. I don't think there's a whole lot of range there. I think he's very similar in a lot of stuff that he's in.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be hard for James McAvoy to morph into that. And additionally, let's say this series does really well, do a prequel series, and now you have James. I mean, obviously that's what we're talking about, but now you have James McAvoy locked in for something that is going to be able to go for years, as opposed to Patrick Stewart.
I think with the young Patrick Stewart, it's thinking more like flashbacks or things like that.
Yeah.
On the overall tapestry, just guys, Alex Kurtzman, if you can hear me, stay away from the Borg. Just please stay away from the Borg. Starting actually Thursday this coming week, they're actually going to debut on CBS All Access again. Star Trek Short Treks. That's going to be a 10 to 15 minute episode once a month leading up to Star Trek Discovery. They're going to have a Saru story, a Harry Mudd story, a Tilly story, and then a story from somebody we haven't seen yet. 10 to 15 minutes, all it's going to be on CBS All Access in the lead up to season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. What do you feel about when they do those little standalones and they're only like 10 or 15 minutes?
I'll be honest with you. That's something I'm not too familiar with because, like we've said before, I'm not the biggest Star Trek person.
But we see these shorts on Blu-rays for different things. Like DC had the shorts, and then Marvel was known for those one-shots.
One-shots,
that really have the characters, but really didn't tie into the overall tapestry.
If it's more so just from the perspective of like how they add to the medium, I think as long as it's something that is only going to add and not take away from it, and I also don't want it to be something that bridges the gaps in certain things. Like, for example, like you mentioned Marvel. Marvel had some great one-shots that if you take the one-shots into canon, it doesn't make sense with some stuff that happens later. And then additionally, there are some one-shots that cleaned up some inconsistencies that Marvel had. So as long as it's something that is just adding to the medium and not being a supplementary piece of content that you absolutely need to understand what's going on, I'm all for it.
So on, I believe it was the Captain America, the first Avenger disc, they actually had a Marvel one-shot called Something Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer.
Yeah.
With Coulson, my man Coulson.
Yes.
Yeah. So it gave him a little bit more of a character aspect to him.
And it just showed how bad that guy is.
Oh.
Like he's
awesome.
Yeah, he just kicks all kind of butt in that short. But see, like in that one's amazing, right? But then there was one that happened. I can't remember which film it came out with, but there was one, because if you remember at the end of The Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark.
Oh, was it the Specialist one? That one?
I think so.
Was at the end of Thor, I think.
Okay, you might be right. But Robert Downey Jr.'s character at the end of the Hulk went to go talk to Thunderbolt Ross about what looked like to be recruiting the Hulk. But in later Iron Man movies, it doesn't make sense because Iron Man was very against it. He was very like, oh, I never wanted to be a part of that. So they cleaned it up later in a one-shot that was like, oh, Tony Stark, actually, this is what happened, and that's why he was
it took place after Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Because Hulk and Iron Man 2 were happening concurrently.
Yeah, but that wasn't the original, intention of it.
No, that was not the original way we saw it. We always thought, these things happen in sequential order.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I mean, but even as they were filmed, it was something that was like, oh, we got done with Iron Man. Oh, we're also doing this that will hopefully lead into this. But obviously, they didn't know what they were doing or what the plan was. So they had to clean it up later.
Yeah.
But anyway, as long as it's not doing anything like that, and it's a piece of content that is going to be supplementary, that is going to make the audience more excited about obviously the main form of content, then I think there's only good that can come from it as long as you do it correctly.